I am Chris Davenport. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and we moved a ton when I was a kid. Basically every 2 years, you know, we moved a bunch. And but I would say that I grew up in Memphis because I was, you know, where I was a teenager. And then since then, you know, lived in Sydney, lived in New York, lived in Orange County, and have recently settled, hopefully for a while, in Nashville, Tennessee. So I live in Nashville with my wife, Leonie, and our two kids, our two boys, Rhodes and Rufus, and arguably our third son, a 7-year-old Labradoodle named Teddy. My earliest memories of music, I'm pretty spoiled in my musical upbringing. So my dad has great taste in music. He introduced me to tons and tons of the great songwriters, your Paul McCartneys, your Bob Dylans, your Tom Pettys, your John Prines, all of those guys. So I was very spoiled with that. But then also, I didn't realize this until recently, like, I also was brought up where my mom was listening to like the golden age of like country writing, like your Alan Jacksons and your George Straits, like your real deal country artists. So I kind of was spoiled with that. And then I guess I kind of started, I think I've said before, I started playing guitar because my cousin came over one time and he played a song for my dad on the guitar called Dust in the Wind by Kansas. And my dad was obsessed and I was jealous and was like, that's lame, I can totally do that. And so I decided that I was gonna play guitar. And so I started learning, and I started with a song called Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. And music just kind of made sense to me. You know, I instantly made that transition from like being the kid who played every organized sport like known to man to not leaving my room ever because I just played guitar for hours and hours and hours a day. I know this sounds really silly, but it genuinely didn't occur to me that people wrote songs until I was probably like 15 or 16 years old. And eventually through the church that I was attending as a kid, my worship pastor was making his own music and was like bringing those songs into church. And that was when it kind of like started clicking with me, because I was like, oh, these songs that we play on Sundays, there's people behind them and there's people that are writing them as well. And so writing kind of came to me in a real natural way, I think, because that I had such a rich upbringing as far as writing goes. And so when I finally started to write, I think it just kind of felt, I kind of felt at home, really, for the first time. I think for better or worse, my heart is on my sleeve, you know, and I think that can be a strength and a weakness for me. I try to maintain it as a strength as best I can. I do my best to let my real life inform my writing as best I can, because I think that I want the songs that I write to reach people in their real lives as best I can. All we're able to do is serve God with what we have. And so these things, mental health, family situations, all those things, those are the things that God can use. And he's a good enough God that he can use anything. He's a good enough God that he can use anyone. And I'm grateful that's true, because that if it wasn't, he would be able to use me. And so yeah, so I try to have a open book policy as best I can, because I think God does everything on purpose. And so that means that the things that he has walked through with me, there's beauty in all of them, and there's purpose in all of them, and there's a plan in all of them. And I think that God is sovereign enough and kind enough that I don't have to understand. I just have to be willing to stick with him. And so I try to always write from that place, because I just want my songs to be real.